Hello everyone, thank you all so much for clicking on this video. Today we are making a skirt, a maxi skirt, but you really can make the skirt as short or as long as you like. But of course we'll get into all of that. First, I would like to ask everyone to subscribe to the channel and like this video. If you haven't done so already, I would greatly appreciate it. There'll be some details in the description box, so make sure to check that out as well. For this tutorial, we are going to use Big Twist yarn in the color Varsity Gold. This yarn is 100% acrylic, and this yarn, this one skein is, sorry, I'm trying to find the yardage, is 380 yards. For this tutorial, for this skirt, I used a little bit more than 3 skeins of yarn, but that's for a size 2X. So of course it will vary on how many skeins you need based on your size. And this is a medium weight, a size 4 yarn. You're also going to need a pair of scissors and a 6mm hook, and that's about it. Let's get started. So we're going to start off with our slip knot, and we're going to insert our hook, and we are going to chain 7. Then we're going to yarn over, and we're going to insert our hook into the 3rd chain from the hook, and we will place a half double crochet. So insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and then pull through all 3. And then in the last 3 stitches, you're going to continue with half double crochets. Okay, so then a total of 5 half double crochets. Right now we're just doing our waistband. So chain 2, turn, and then we're going to be placing half double crochets in the back loop only. So yarn over, insert your hook into the back loop, not through both, just this one back loop, and place a half double crochet, and do the same thing in the rest of these stitches. Back loop only. Okay, so we're going to do that for every row. I'm going to include how many rows suggested rows for your size, but you can use measurements. What I would suggest is using the average between your waist measurement and your hip measurement, and so adding those two and dividing by 2 and making sure that your band can stretch to that point, whatever that number, that total is. But I'll also include suggestions. So chain 2, turn, and continue with back loop only, half double crochets. For the size I made, which I made a 2X, I did 70 rows of half double crochet back loop only. And I will meet you when this is completed. Okay, we're finishing up our last row, and now we are going to join this side with the other side where we started, where our chains were, and we're just going to join these together by single crocheting. So I'm just going to go back into that last stitch I just did, and then I'm going to go through on into the chain here and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2, and then I'm just going to keep connecting to the other side. Okay, and now my band is connected, and I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to place 2 single crochets in the end of each row. 2 single crochets in the end of each half double crochet row. Okay, so we are going to go around all the way around until we get back to the other side, just continuing to place 2 single crochets in the end of each row. And it doesn't really matter which holes you place them in, just as long as there's 2 in the end of each row. And then I'll meet you back at the end of, I guess we'll call this round, at the end of this round, when we slip stitch back into the top of this single crochet, the first single crochet we made. Okay, so now we are at the end of that row, and we are just slip stitching into the first single crochet that we created, and then we're going to begin slip stitching down the seam that we created, because we want to get to the other side so that we can do the same exact thing. So I'm just going to start slip stitching into those single crochets I created. So 2, 3, 4, sorry. Those are single crochets. I want to create slip stitches, not single crochets, so excuse that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to insert our hook here and just create single crochets, 2 single crochets again in the end of each row, like we did on the other side. Just making sure that we're adding 2 in the end of every row all the way around. So same thing. Okay, so now we are going to slip stitch into the first single crochet. We completed crocheting all the way around, placing the 2 double crochets all the way around, And now we're going to slip stitch into the first single crochet we made. Okay. Then we're going to chain 2, and in that same stitch I'm going to place a double crochet, which is yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then we're going to place 9 more double crochets, so a total of 10. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to skip the next stitch, and we're going to place a double crochet into the next stitch. So yarn over and place a double crochet, skip this stitch, and place a double crochet into the stitch after that. Okay, and now we're going to do 9 more. So that was 1, so it'll be another total of 10. So that was 1, and now we're doing 9 more. Okay, so now we have 2 sets of 10. So we have 10, chain 1, skip 1, and now we have 10, and we're going to do the same thing. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and place a double crochet into the stitch after that. So that's 1, and then 9 more, so that you have a total of 10 after that chain space. And then you're just going to continue doing that around. So 10 double crochets, chain 1, skip 1, 10 double crochets all the way around. Okay, so now we're going to slip stitch that chain space. We're just going to insert our hook in that chain space, and we're going to slip stitch to close off that row. And then we're going to chain 2, and I'm going to turn. Now the reason I'm going to turn my work here is because we're going to have to turn our work when we get to the slit anyway. So I just think it's better to get in the habit of turning it now. For the next 8 rows, we're just going to work this pattern. So it is going to be in the round, but I'm just explaining why I'm turning instead of just working in the round. It's going to go around, but we're going to turn each row, because when we get to the split, we're going to have to turn each row anyway. So I just felt like it was better to be in the habit of turning and learning the pattern, working the pattern that way from the beginning. Okay. So I chained 2 and turned. Now I'm going to place a double crochet into that first stitch, the same stitch where I did my chain, right after I did my chain 2. And then I'm going to do a total of 10 double crochets as I did previously. So that was the first one, and then 9 more. 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and so our 10th brings us to the chain space, and we're going to place a double crochet into that chain space. So 10, and then we're going to chain 1, and then we will skip the next stitch and place a double crochet. Okay, so now we're going to continue doing that around. So you'll end up having continuing with the 10, and you will end up doing that in each space. So you'll see that it's going to end up being diagonal mesh stitches. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're keeping that pattern. Just remember it's diagonal mesh stitches. Like, say you get to a point and you feel like, oh, I missed a stitch somewhere somehow. I only have 9. I personally wouldn't even worry about that. I just make sure that after each mesh stitch, I'm making sure there's one in the next row. So that's usually how I work patterns, is that I just make sure it looks correct. So that's easier than continuing to count the whole time. So I know that there needs to be a space here. So I just know to skip that and continue breaking the pattern. Rather than just counting 10 while I'm going around, just always remembering space, double crochet into the chain stitch, skip 1, skipping that next stitch from the previous row, so that you are creating a diagonal pattern. Okay? But of course, you can continue to count if you want, because if you did 10 in the previous row, then it should continue being the same with this row. 10 double crochets before you skip. Okay, so we are finishing up this row. And we are going to slip stitch to join, and then we're going to chain 2 and turn. And also just keep in mind that don't worry too much about there being more than 10 stitches here. I wouldn't worry about that at all, because this is going to start to move over, and then it's going to split anyway, so just don't, that's not going to make a difference. So now we're kind of working the pattern differently. So now, like I said, really instead of counting, you're just trying to keep the diagonal mesh pattern. So instead of counting, I would just watch for the previous row. So now we can see that we're going to need a space in front of this stitch rather than after. And when we do the split part, we have to go back and forth. So like I said, that's why I'm not just working in the round and I'm starting off now. So I'm showing you from here what you'll end up having to do later anyway. So I'm placing a double crochet the same place where I chained 2, and I'm going to continue with my double crochets. And before I get to that space, we are going to have to skip the stitch right before that space. Okay? Okay, so double crochet here. Oops. Double crochet here. And now we're going to chain 1, and we are going to skip this stitch before that chain space, the mesh space here, and place a double crochet inside. And see how we kept our pattern. Okay, and continue with your double crochets going around. And so this, we're going to continue this for a total of 8 rows, so we'll need to do 5 more. So you're going to go around and slip stitch to close off this row, and then you're going to turn, and then you'll be doing what you did in the previous row, and your mesh will end up coming after. Okay, so it's going to go before, after because of the turning. Just making sure you're keeping with that mesh, with that diagonal mesh pattern. You can see it, so it won't be difficult to keep up with that. Okay. So once again, we're skipping. We're chaining 1 and skipping that stitch and double crocheting inside of it. I'm sorry, inside of the space. So we are finishing off, so we're going to chain 1 and double crochet, skip 1 and double crochet into that space. And now you can kind of see that before we get to where we're going to slip stitch, before we get to our join, that there will be more than 10. So you don't need to worry about before and after the join if there's more than 10. That doesn't matter. But what we do need to make sure is that we're adding open spaces where they need to go. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there'll be 1 left here. So I'll show you what I'll do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now I'm going to chain, and then I'm just going to skip that, and I'm going to join with a slip stitch. Okay? Then I'm going to chain 2 and turn, and now we're starting like a new row of diagonal mesh stitches. So now we're going to insert our hook into that space and place our double crochet. Then we're going to chain, and we're going to skip the next stitch so that we're continuing to go in the same direction, and then place a double crochet into that next stitch. So like what I'm saying is, I just want to be clear. What I'm saying is there are going to be times, especially after we do the split part, there's going to be times when you have moved over to the point where you have more than 10 stitches, and you need to make sure that you add a space when you see that you're getting more than 10 stitches. You don't need to count all the way around all the time, but we do have to add stitches at the beginning of rows sometimes to create our new diagonal rows, and then our diagonal pattern. And then when you end a row, it's basically the same thing. There are times where you might need to skip the last stitch. Okay, so I just want to make that clear. and then we're just going to continue with the pattern in the way that I showed you. In this row, now we're at the row where we'll be going after the space, okay? Creating spaces after the last space. So I hope so far this is easy to understand. I'm really hoping that with this video it is helpful to show you the direction that we're going in, and where you need to place spaces. But of course, if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to me or comment below if you have a question, because it might be able to help others. But yeah, so just continue around for a total of 8 rows. So this is our 4th one, so we're going to finish this one, then there'll be 4 more, so a total of 8. Okay, so now we have our 8 rows completed and joined here, and now we're going to start our split. So we're going to chain 2 and turn, and then we're going to place a double crochet into the same space where we did the chain 2, and then I'm going to create a decrease. So I'm going to go into a double crochet decrease. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, pull through, insert my hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's how we join those 2 stitches to create a decrease. And I'm going to work my way around, and now we are placing our space in front of the previous one from the previous row, and we're going to work this around until we get to the last 2 stitches, and we will be creating another decrease on the other end, and we won't be joining this time. Okay, so we've come all the way around and we have 2 stitches left. So I'm going to do the same thing I did and before as a decrease. I'm going to join these 2 stitches. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, I'm sorry, not yarn over, I'll start over. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, then insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over and pull through 2, and now we are not connecting. We're just going to chain 2 and turn, and then we will decrease again. So we're going to do the same thing and join these 2 stitches, the first 2 stitches, and then we're going to continue around. Now we're going to decrease here in these last 2 stitches. We need a total of 3 decrease rows. So we're going to decrease in the last 2 stitches, and in the next row we're going to do another decrease row, and then that'll be the end of our decrease rows. So I will meet you when I finish the row after this. So a total of 3 decrease rows. Okay, now we have our split. It's open, and we want to stop decreasing, and we will now just work our pattern around back and forth until we get to our desired length. So we're just chaining 2, turning, and then we're just working the pattern around. Oops, made a mistake. This row, it should be after. See, I made a mistake and I was about to put it before. Always watch to make sure of which direction it's going in. You might do that a couple times, but it's okay because you can just take it out and go back. I always, this is just a hint, I'm sorry, a tip. Whenever you complete a row, always look back at your last row, because you don't want to get super far down and then look back and see that you made a mistake and you put one before and you didn't take it out, you didn't notice. So always, y'all, what am I doing? So always check after every row you complete, check, look around, just make sure and keep going. It just takes a couple seconds just to make sure, and it'll save you time because you don't want to have to remove a bunch of rows because you made a mistake like that. Okay, so like I said, y'all, we're just completing this row now. No decreases. And this is a good place for me to show you what to do when you get to the ends of rows and like you have 1 stitch left. So there should be a stitch here, a space here, but because it's our last stitch in the row and we don't want to create a decrease, we're going to place a double crochet there. So we're just going to place 2 double crochets at the end of this row. We're not going to worry about the fact that there should be another space. We're just going to end that there. And then we're going to chain 2, and so we're still going to have 10. What we would do here is we would crochet 10, we would end up with 10, and then we would end up with our space right here, so it would be 10 and then our space here. But I want to show you guys, if this were to be a spot where we would have 11, I just want to show you guys how you would start the new, I guess you would say, sequence or pattern of your spaces. So what I would do, so like I said, this one is still going to be 10. You're just going to crochet down and then skip one to keep with your sequence. But with this one, what I want to show you is if there were like 11 stitches left. What I would do is I would crochet 3, and then I would skip that first stitch there, and then I would continue that way, and that will create a new sequence of mesh stitches here. Okay, but that would only be, like I said, like if you were at a spot where there were 11 stitches and you needed to just start a new sequence, that's what you would do in that case. Okay. But But just keep in mind, you wouldn't actually do that here. You wouldn't need one here because you have enough stitches. So I just want to make that clear. That was just showing you just in case. So yeah, that's what you would do with that. But in this case, we wouldn't need that, so we would just chain 2. And there's no more increasing, no more decreasing for the rest of the skirt. So you're just going to continue this until you get to your desired length. All right, so now I'm done. I did a total of 64 rows, top to bottom. I can't get all the skirt in this shot right now, but it's just the skirt, and this is the split part. So now what you're gonna do, don't tie off when you finish your last row. I tied off, but I shouldn't have, so I just reattached, put my yarn back together. I put the yarn back with it, and but yeah, don't tie your yarn off, because now we're going to crochet up the edges to clean up our edges by just placing 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way around. So I'm just gonna go back in and pull my yarn through, because like I said, I detached my yarn, but I shouldn't have. So I'm just gonna wrap my yarn around and chain 1, and then in the end of each row I'm going to place 2 single crochets in the end of each row all the way around. So now we finished going around, and we are now going to fasten off. Okay, so now what we have left to do, of course you're going to weave in this end, but you can do that at the end. What we have left to do is to make 2 chains, 2 long chains. One is going to go around our waistband so that we can tie it to keep it tight, to keep it up. And then one is going to go here, and we're going to put tassels on the end of the one that goes here. So for our waistband, for my waistband, I'm going to do a chain of 200. And for this area, I'm going to do a chain of 100, maybe 150. I don't think I need it too long, because I'm probably just gonna put it like to this point. So I don't think I need it to be too long. So I'm probably, yeah, I think I'm gonna just stick to a chain of 100, and it's just gonna go across here to like this point. And that's the top of the slit there. And then we're gonna put tassels on the end of the one for here. You could put tassels on the one that goes around your waist too. Maybe I'll do that. We'll see. So now I'm just putting my chain through. I'm putting it pretty close to the top. I eyeballed the middle, and I'm just pulling through with my hook, my crochet hook. And I'm just gonna go all the way around until I get back to this point. Okay, now I finished putting my string in my waistband, and now I'm just going to put this string down the seam. I'm not putting it far down the seam, and I'm really just gonna put it any old kind of way. Oh yeah, and also I did this on my waistband too. The ends of your chains, I'm shortening them. But yeah, I'm just going to pull this through somewhere kind of close to the top. Oop. And then I'm going to pull it through the other side. I am going to try to line it up. Now let me see something, because if this hangs too low, I'm gonna be not happy with it. Okay, y'all, this is too long. What was I thinking about? No, it's not too long. I don't know, we'll see if it's too long, y'all. I think it's too long. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. So we have that. I'm just gonna go a few down. I don't know, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's just go 8 down. You don't really have to count. You know, it's not on yet, so I don't know how long it's gonna look until I have it on. So I don't know, we'll see. If I want it shorter, I'm just gonna create a shorter chain. So I'm gonna show you guys how it looks, and then we're gonna create our chain. Our tassels. And if this chain is too long for you, then don't do a chain of 200. I knew from the beginning that I probably shouldn't do a chain of 200, but we don't even know yet. Maybe this will work out. But it's looking like it's gonna be too long. We'll see. We shall see. But for now, I'm just gonna keep pulling this through. Okay, it's getting shorter. It's getting shorter. All right. It might be okay. It might be okay. It might be. All right, I'm gonna do it 2 more times. I'm just gonna lace it twice more, and then I'm gonna stop and I'll show you how we do the tassels. Okay, so let me show you guys how you're going to add your tassels on the end. So we're going to just cut 5 strands of the same size. We want them to be equal in length, and I'm going to make mine, so remember they're going to be folded over, and like tied. I'm gonna make mine longer than I want them, and then I'll trim them down because I just don't want them to be too short from the start. I'll trim them down if I need to. So I'm just gonna cut 5 strands that are equal in length. These scissors are not very sharp, and I have a sharp pair across the room, and I'm literally just not getting up to get them, but it's okay. Okay, so 5 strands. Now, I don't even know if this is the right way to make tassels. To be honest, I probably should have watched a tassel tutorial before I started this. This is just how I make tassels. I don't know. I just know how to make tassels from doing them when I was little, and this is pretty much what I remember doing. But I don't know if there's a better way. If you know a better way to make a tassel, then you can let me know. But this is just how I do it. So y'all gonna see me do it how I do it. So I'm just gonna pull each strand through the bottom of the last chain of my string. I'll do 2 at a time if I can. That's 2. Maybe I can do all 3. All right. So we pulled them all through. Did we? Or did we leave one out? Left one out. So I have to get that one. I hope I'm not making tassels the hard way. I don't know. This is just how I do it for now. I think I'm actually going to watch to see how other people do it after I do this. I just realized that would be a great idea. But so now I'm going to put my finger through all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, making sure that my finger is going through all of them. And then I'm going to like pull them all through this loop. Okay? So there. Now we have a tassel on the end of our chain. And this is there, but I'm gonna just, these scissors are not gonna snip that off. That's from the end of our chain. That should be, okay. So now we have our tassel here. And I want it shorter than this. It's too long right now. I think I want it to go right here. So I'm gonna get my other scissors because I don't like these. All right, so I said about here. So I'm just gonna snip, snip, snip across. And now I have a tassel. You guys see? And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other end, and that will be it. But I do think I'm going to make a shorter chain. I think this chain is too long. I think I'm going to go with a chain of 150. And then I will show y'all what that looks like probably in the pictures or yeah. So thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I really appreciate. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Like this video, comment if you have any questions, anything to say about it, and you can reach me on Instagram. My Instagram is at monet.alexa. My TikTok is monet.alexa as well. And when I say dot, I mean period, just to make sure that's clear. I don't think I have anything else to say, but yeah, please follow me. And if you make this, please tag me. I would love to see your creation. I'd love to see what color you make this in. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Bye.